What's up, everybody? Mr. ASMR Boy here. I am super excited and thrilled to be back with all of you. It has been nearly 3 years since I've made a video, and it's been on my to-do list to come back for the past year and a half. But since then, the past, 3 years since we were last in contact with each other, I've started 2 businesses. I started a PR agency specializing in social media marketing, public relations, and governmental relations for small and medium-sized businesses. And I also, a year ago, last April of 23, acquired and took over a news publication called Inland Empire Community News, and we are online, in print, obviously social media and whatnot, but that's part of the reason why it's taken me a long time to come back. So here we are. But so in coming back here, I really wanted to make this experience beneficial for you, the viewer, but also for me, the person. And so there's a number of books that I have been reading or started to read in the past year, and as embarrassing as this is, I take full ownership of it, but I started reading this book last February. I remember I was on a trip to Salt Lake City, and in the airport was waiting and got to page, I think, like 15, and then got to page like 20 when I was, at the on the trip. And so I am taking this channel as an opportunity to read. I'm planning and aiming to post every Monday and every Friday, just to get a cadence that is consistent, but also not overworking myself, just because I'm not a robot, obviously. So that's really what I'm looking at doing moving forward, is utilizing this channel to get some, obviously, unintentional, I believe that's what it's called, but intentional at the same time, sort of ASMR for you guys, while I am contributing to growing my brain. So again, super happy and excited to be here with all of you, excited to be back. Also recommend any kind of books. I've noticed that I really like books from Ryan Holiday. So this is the book that I am starting out with. It is called Trust Me, I'm Lying. It is all about PR, public relations, and I also noticed that this author has written The Daily Stoic. It's a book that I try to read every morning. It's like a 1-page sort of passage that is from, part of Stoicism, and then also 48 Laws of Power. So I also want to finish that book too. But if you have any suggestions, feel free to drop them in the comments below. Once again, excited to be back with all of you, and let's just hop right into it. So this is the 5th anniversary edition, revised and updated for the fake news era. It says a playbook for the dark arts of exploiting the media. Robert Greene, author of the 48 Laws of Power. An astonishing, disturbing book, says the Financial Times, and this book is called Trust Me, I'm Lying, Confessions of a Media Manipulator by Ryan Holiday. I'm gonna need a, what do you call that thing? A thumbnail. I've been gone for so long, I nearly forgot what it was called. So, a little bit about the author. Ryan Holiday is a best-selling author and a leading media strategist. After dropping out of college at 19 to apprentice under Robert Greene, author of the 48 Laws of Power, he went on to advise many best-selling authors, musicians, and notorious clients. He's served as the director of marketing at American Apparel, where his work was internationally known and used as case studies by Twitter, YouTube, and Google. His books have been translated into 20 languages, and his writing has appeared everywhere from the Columbia Journalism Review to Entrepreneur and Fast Company. His company, Brass Check, has advised companies like Google, Taser, and Complex, and some of the biggest authors in the world. He currently lives on a small ranch in Austin, Texas, and writes at RyanHoliday.net. That's a pretty impressive resume there. So I'm not skipping pages, I'm just getting to the first page. Alright. If you were being kind, you would say my job is in. If you were being kind, you would say my job is in marketing and public relations or online strategy and advertising. But that's a polite veneer to hide the harsh truth. I am, to put it bluntly, a media manipulator. I'm paid to deceive. My job is to lie to the media so they can lie to you. I cheat, bribe, connive for best-selling authors and billion-dollar brands, and abuse my understanding of the internet to do it. I am most certainly not the only one. People like me funnel millions of dollars to online publications to fuel their enormous appetite for page views. We control the scoops and breaking news that fill your Facebook feed, that get your coworkers chattering. I have flown bloggers across the country, boosted their revenue by buying fake traffic, written their stories for them, fabricated elaborate ruses to capture their attention, and even hired their family members. I've probably sent enough gift cards and t-shirts to fashion bloggers to clothe a small country. Why did I do all of this? Because it was the best way to get what I wanted for my clients. Attention. I did it to build these writers and influencers as resources that now have access to millions of people at some of the biggest media outlets and platforms in the world. I used blogs to control the news. It's why I find myself at 2 a.m. one morning at a deserted intersection in Los Angeles, dressed in all black. Let me find out that's me. In my hand, I had tape and some obscene stickers made at Kinko's earlier in the afternoon. What was I doing here? I was there to deface billboards, specifically billboards I had designed and paid for. Not that I'd expect to do anything like this, but there I was, doing it. My then girlfriend and future wife, coaxed into being my accomplice, was behind the wheel of the getaway car. After I finished, we circled the block and I took photos of my work from the passenger window as if I had spotted it from the road. Across the billboards was now a 2-foot-long sticker that implied that the movies Los Angeles hates Tucker Max too, and attached the photos. One blog wrote back, "You're not messing with me, are you?" "No," I said, "trust me. I'm not lying." The vandalized billboards and the coverage that my photos received were just a small part of the deliberately provocative campaign I did for the movie. I hope they serve beer in hell. Tucker, the client, had asked me to create some controversy around the movie, which was based on his best-selling book. And I did. Somewhat effortlessly, it turns out. It is one of many campaigns I have done in my career, and by no means an unusual one. But it illustrates a part of the media system that is hidden from your view. How the news is created and driven by marketers, and that no one does anything to stop it. In under 2 weeks, and with no budget, thousands of college students protested the movie on their campus nationwide. Angry citizens vandalized our billboards in multiple neighborhoods. FoxNews.com ran a front page story about the backlash. Page 6 of the New York Post made their first of many mentions of Tucker, and the Chicago Transit Authority banned and stripped the movie's advertisements from their buses. To cap it all off, 2 different editorials railing against the film ran into the Washington Post and Chicago Tribune the week it was released. The outrage about Tucker was great enough that a few years later, it was written into the television show Portlandia. I guess it's safe to say, to admit now, that the entire firestorm was, essentially, fake. I designed the advertisements, which I bought and placed around the country, and then promptly left anonymous complaints about them and linked copies of my complaints to blogs for support. I alerted college LGBT and women's rights groups to screening in their area and baited them to protest our offensive movie at the theater. Knowing that the nightly news would cover it, I started a boycott group on Facebook. I orchestrated fake tweets and posted fake comments to online articles. I won a contest for being the first one to send in a picture of a defaced ad in Chicago. Thanks for the free t-shirt, Chicago Red Eye. Oh, also, that photo was from New York. I manufactured preposterous stories about Tucker's behavior on and off the movie set and reported them to gossip websites, which gleefully repeated them. I paid for anti-woman ads on feminist websites and ads on Christian websites, knowing each would write about it. Sometimes I just photoshopped ads onto screenshots of websites and got coverage for controversial ads that never actually ran. The loop became final when, for the first time in history, I put out a press release to answer my own manufactured criticism. Tucker Max responds to CTA decision. Blow me, the headline read. Hello, shitstorm of press. Hello, number 1 on the New York Times bestseller list. I pulled this off with no connections, no money, and no footsteps to follow. But because of the way that blogging is structured, from the way bloggers are paid by the page view to the way blog posts must be written to catch the reader's attention, this was all very easy to do. The system eats up the kind of material I produce. So as the manufactured storm I created played itself out in the press, people started believing it, and it became true. My full-time job then was director of marketing for American Apparel, a clothing company known for its provocative imagery and unconventional business practices. And I would go on to found my own marketing company, Brass Check, which would orchestrate stunts and marketing trickery for other high-profile clients, from authors who sell millions of books to entrepreneurs worth hundreds of millions of dollars. I create and shape the news for them. Usually, it is a simple hustle. Someone pays me, I manufacture a story for them, and we trade it up the chain, from a tiny blog to a website of a local news network, to Reddit, to the Huffington Post, to major newspapers, to cable news, and back again, until the unreal becomes real. Sometimes I start by planting a story. Sometimes I put out a press release or ask a friend to break a story on their blog. Sometimes I leak a document. By real, I mean that people believe it and act on it. I am saying that the infrastructure of the internet can be used against itself to turn a manufactured piece of nonsense into widespread outrage and then action. It happens every day, every single day. Sometimes I fabricate a document and leak that. Really, it can be anything from vandalizing a Wikipedia page to producing an expensive viral video. However, the play starts, the end is the same. The economics of the internet are exploited to change public perception and sell a product. Now, I was hardly a wide-eyed kid when I entered this world. I grew up online, and I knew that in every community there were trolls and tricksters. Like many people, I remained a believer. I thought the web was a meritocracy, and that the good stuff generally rose to the top. But spending serious time in the media underworld, watching as the same outlets who fell for easy marketing stunts seriously report on matters of policy or culture will disabuse you of the okay, legit, I've never came across this word before. I think it's naivete. Policy or culture will disabuse you of that naivete. It will turn that hope into cynicism. Though I wish I could pinpoint the moment when it all fell apart, when I realized that the whole thing was a giant con. I can't. All I know is that eventually I did. It's what ultimately put me on the path to write this book. I studied the economics and the ecology of online media deeply in the pursuit of my craft. I wanted to understand not just how, but why it worked. From the technology down to the personalities of the people who use it. As an insider with access, I saw things that academics and gurus and many journalists themselves will never see. Publishers liked to talk to me because I controlled multi-million-dollar online advertising budgets, and they were often shockingly honest. I began to make connections among these pieces of information and see patterns in history. In books, decades out of print, I saw criticism of media loopholes that had now reopened. I watched a basic psychological precepts that violated or ignored by bloggers as they reported the news and the so-called fake news. Having seen that much of the edifice of online publishing was based on faculty assumptions and self-serving logic, I had learned that I could outsmart it. This knowledge both scared and emboldened me at the same time. I confess I turned around and used this knowledge against the public interest and for my own gain. An obscure item I found in the course of my research has always stayed with me. It was a mention of the 1913 editorial cartoon published in the long since defunct Leslie's Illustrated Weekly newspaper. The cartoon, it said, showed a businessman throwing coins into the mouth of a giant, fang-barred monster of many arms, which stood menacingly in front of him. Each of its tentacle-like arms, which were destroying the city around it, was tattooed with the words like cultivating hate, distorting facts, and slush to inflame. The man was an advertiser, and the mouth belonged to the malicious yellow press that needed his money to survive. Underneath was a caption: "The fool who feeds the monster." I knew I had to find this century-old drawing, though I wasn't sure why. As I rode the escalator through the glass canyon atrium and into the bowels of the central branch of the Los Angeles Public Library to search for it, it struck me that I wasn't just looking for some rare old newspaper. I was looking for myself. I knew who that fool was. He was me. In addiction circles, those in recovery also use the image of the monster as a warning. They tell the story of a man who found a package on his porch. Inside was a little monster, but it was cute, like a puppy. He kept it and raised it. The more he fed it, the bigger it got, and the more it needed to be fed. He ignored his worries as it grew bigger, more intimidating, demanding, and unpredictable, until one day, as he was playing with it, the monster attacked and nearly killed him. The realization that the situation was more than he could handle came too late. The man was no longer in control. The monster had a life of its own. The story of the monster is a lot like my story, except my story is not about drugs or the yellow press, but a bigger and much more modern monster. My monster is the brave new world of new media, one that I often fed and thought I controlled. I lived high and well in that world, and I believed it until it no longer looked the same to me. Many things went down. I'm not sure where my responsibility for them begins or ends, but I'm ready to talk about what happened. I created false perceptions through blogs, which led to bad conclusions and wrong decisions. Real decisions in the real world that had consequences for real people. Phrases like known R word began to follow. What were once playfully encouraged rumors of bad or shocking behavior designed to get publicity for clients. American Apparel, the company signed to get blog publicity for clients. American Apparel, the company whose CEO loved to encourage controversy, eventually tired of it and fired him, and was sent reeling into bankruptcy and, sadly, irrelevancy. Friends were ruined and broken. Gradually, I began to notice work just like mine appearing everywhere, and no one was catching on to it or repairing the damage. Stocks took major hits to the tune of tens of millions of dollars. On news from the same unbearable resources, I'd often trick with fake stories. I've even seen some of those same sites take unfair shots at me, accusing me of this or that because there was traffic in it for them. I don't think it's controversial now, looking at the collapse of our political discourse. When a reality television star has been elected to the presidency, to say that everyone is starting to learn what the consequences of feeding the monster are. We can't even talk to each other anymore. Each of us running our own polarized little world on Facebook, which now would be TikTok, followed by Instagram. Kind of funny that they mentioned Facebook, because we're about 10 years out from that having been the main sort of social media site that appears to the majority of users. Both sides throw the label fake news at each other because we can't even agree on basic truth anymore. Winston Churchill wrote of the appeasers of his age that each one hopes that if he feeds the crocodile enough, the crocodile will eat him last. I thought I could skip being devoured entirely. Maybe you did too. We thought we were in control. I was wrong. We were all wrong. So, we are going to end it there. It's already been nearly 30 minutes. Sheesh. Well, I am going to get on with the rest of my work day, and just wanted to hop on here and reintroduce myself to you guys. And again, my actual name is Manny. My YouTube ASMR name is Mr. ASMR Boy. And yeah, overall, I'm just really, really excited to be back, and I look forward to catching up with all of you. Remember to drop your book requests in the comment section. I do already have another one lined up after this one, so I could potentially get to it this year. And so yeah, I'm really excited.